What's up, She Sells girlies? Welcome back to another episode. In this episode, we dive deep into the real, the raw, and the vulnerable. We're talking about what it's like to earn more than your husband, to step into a very masculine role, and just all the adversity that we've had to deal with because of that and how we've worked through it. I really hope you enjoy. It's a very different style of episode, but it's part of our truth, and I hope you enjoy. Hello, everyone. What's up?
What's going on, everyone? Was super tight, this seating position. I like it.
You don't like sitting next to me?
Yeah, this is like the closest I've sat next to you all day. Yeah. We actually work next to each other, like right next to each other. It's actually
annoying.
It's actually really
as
annoying.
Hell.
Yeah. So these mics, right? They're good for the podcast, but like when we're on meetings, whenever I'm on a meeting, all anyone says to me is like, all I can hear is Brooke yelling. And you do. You literally yell. You're passionate.
Do you know why people raise their voice? What it actually shows?
Passion.
Yeah, and authority and credibility and confidence.
You have to yell at people.
I don't yell at them.
You can just project it. Anyway.
Oh, wow, this session's going to be fab. You know what we're talking about today?
It's the warm-up. We're
the
prepping
fact
everyone.
that I earned more than my husband.
How fucking dare you? Yeah.
This is going to be a real... prior to this, I said to Scott, let's just be so raw and honest and open about the struggles that we've had in our relationship because of this power dynamic that just wasn't quite right. So I'll kick it off then. Let's take it back to the very first 20K month that I had.
What year was this as well? I was just thinking about it. Was it 21?
I don't know. It doesn't matter.
It was 2020.
Yeah, it was 2020, I think.
No, it was 21. It was 21.
It doesn't, whenever it was. It was March though.
It was March 2021.
It was definitely March.
21, yeah.
Because I remember so everyone that kind of knows my story knows that my first month hit 440K. Next month it was like
440K.
Oh, sorry.
Wow, that's a good month.
$440. 440 buckaroonies. Not even enough to cover one week of rent. So second month, that really lit a fire in my belly. I was like, hell no, I'm not going to accept that. Second month was like close to 10K. Mm-hmm. The month after that was 20. So yeah, it was March. And I remember hitting that 20K and honestly, we both just couldn't believe it. At this point, because we used to say things to each other like, oh my God, if we only had 10K in our bank account, we'd feel like we won the lottery. And like, oh my God, if we only had just a lump sum of money, we'd be able to do this. So when we first hit it, and I say we, because that's how it felt, it was like a joint achievement.
We share our money, everyone.
We share our money.
Most relationships don't do that.
Oh,
So
really?
We basically shared all our money since 6 months into our relationship. I feel like we shared bank accounts pretty quick.
Yeah.
Some marriages just don't even share it.
Yeah, well, no judgment.
Different.
Yeah, we do share our money, and it's
Probably
mainly
how we value money as well.
It's mainly because I just can't. I'm not a good saver. I just don't have a great relationship with money. But anyway, so we hit 20K, and I'd been eyeing off this dress and these pair of shoes that I would never in a million years be able to just go and buy outright. I was the type of person who used to go and apply for nimble credit cards just to be able to buy a dress or a fascinator. I say fascinator because that happened. I went into a nimble loan to get a stupid little hat. Anyway.
To wear once,
yeah.
For one event, yeah. That's
and
crazy.
then it just gets chucked in a box and I don't ever see it again. But I remember going to get these shoes and this dress, and I went to my nonna's house. It was Easter, and Easter was in March. So I was wearing this aged dress and these Chloe slides, and I just felt like a baller.
Do you remember going to Lotus, I think it was, that place in Beaufort Street?
Yes.
And we went out for dinner, and that wasn't even that expensive, but it was quite a nice place.
Yeah.
I remember just sitting there being like, we've fucking made it.
We've made it.
So we had you had your first 20K month.
Yeah, but guys, I don't think you understand.
It was a big transition.
Okay, Scott and I would not be able to go out and just buy cocktails. We could never do that. When we came to Bali in 2018, 2018,
Yeah.
we couldn't just go out to dinner without making sure that we could pay for it. And we couldn't just buy cocktails, and we couldn't just we couldn't do that. So when we went to Lotus, I remember saying to you, we were just like ordering cocktail after cocktail after cocktail, and we didn't care what the bill was. We didn't even think twice about it. And now that is the norm for us.
Yeah.
And I don't want that to, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. I don't want that to seem misguided at all. I'm not saying like, I definitely don't want to sound privileged, because I that's not the place that came from. I mean, like, there was a time not so long ago that we could not literally just buy cocktails. Sometimes we wouldn't even be able to go out for dinner.
Yeah. It was a crazy transition, because there was like, I mean, look, we've always kind of been earning okay money, right? Except for when we worked in the gyms. Like when we first worked in the gyms, I think I was making like 45K or something.
Yeah, but
craziness.
Yeah, but I mean, I've always been a hustler for money.
Yeah.
Since you've known me, I've always had 2 jobs.
Yeah. So we progressed like up that rank. So we got to like okay money. I can't remember what we were getting paid, 70 and 75 or something like that. And then like we ended up just both working multiple jobs. So we ended up like kind of like manufacturing like 100 to 120, I think for 150 potentially at one point, because you were like doing 3 jobs, and then we had the online thing.
Jobs. Yeah.
So yeah, we've definitely not been afraid to work for it, but like it still just never was enough.
No.
So like I literally remember, even when we went to the mines, I remember I was like, man, we're bowling.
We would go to Emporium.
No, the Epicurean at Crown Towers. We'd go to the Epicurean at the Crown Towers
once a month. And
that's because like I would get paid monthly, and it was as I flew out as well, because I threw like 2 and 2. And yeah, I'd take you to the Epicurean. I'd be like, yeah, baby, like we fucking made it.
You can literally go onto my Instagram to see the monthly Epicurean posts.
We get dressed up for it. It was so good though. But it's a perfect case of like, you just got to appreciate where you're at.
Yeah.
But then I remember when we had that 20K month, it was like suddenly things were just unlocked, because it was just like, and it's not like you don't just get drip fed like 20K. It's like, boom, here you go, guys. Here's your monthly salary. And it's like, holy shit.
Holy
Not
shit.
even salary, sorry. Like commissions.
The commissions.
Like, here's your $20,000 commissions. And like, we didn't know what the fuck we were doing, right? I mean, like, yeah, we were still investing, but like, we definitely didn't really plan to make 20K that month.
No.
So we didn't have the, you know, we didn't spend the smartest.
Oh God, we were just going.
Do you remember you would call it your monthly treaty? Which basically meant that Brooke would just go wherever and just buy whatever the fuck she wanted. And like, I
deserve that.
You definitely did. But I'm not a material person in the slightest. So you were always like, what's your treaty? And I was like, I don't know, like something productive.
I love how you're saying this right now, because you would always want a treaty too.
Yeah, but what was my treaty?
It was always like some books or like.
Yeah, exactly. Some shit that's like actually useful.
No, or like
buy like a
your Aura ring.
Yeah, Aura ring.
Like, no,
because I wanted to track my data of my health.
All right, you're acting like you didn't want treaties, but you would always miraculously have this new tech thingy that like you got.
Productivity. But anyway, moral of the story is that like we weren't ready for it.
No, but yeah, we were not ready for it. And we kind of just thought it would be a one-time thing. But it wasn't.
Yeah, literally felt like winning the lottery, right?
Yeah, because we were like, oh my God, it has to stop now. Like this cannot be a thing that just keeps happening. And it didn't. It kept happening. So March was my first 20K month. I did it again in April, did it again in May, did it again in June.
Yeah.
And so we actually were like, whoa. So you can imagine, guys, it didn't take very long for things to start to shift. Money and earning money is addictive. I talk about this in a previous episode. I started to realize that the time and the energy that you put into this, it could yield me a higher return, which means everything that we wanted for our life could just be accelerated. You know, we could get 30K a month, 40K a month. And so my focus moved away from wanting to be a present mother with my son to, hey, money, like, let's focus on that.
Yes. Yeah. And like, do you feel like that was the right one?
It's really hard. Like, I don't have any regrets, but I definitely feel like I missed some big moments with Oakland.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's a really tricky one, and it's hard to talk about because it also, not just the time that I put into it, but it was also like, I, in my head was like, I'm doing this for my family. And this kind of ties into the whole session of today, which is like, I earned more than you. So in my head, I kind of assumed the role of the masculine, the provider. But that didn't mean that Scott went into the feminine nurturer role. He was also the masculine provider. So there was two of us in this very masculine role, and it just threw everything.
Yeah, it was rough. So, I mean, I'm very old fashioned, right? And like my belief is to, be the provider and to be the man of the family, which like I was up to that point, right?
Yeah.
And then randomly, like here's you just coming out making 20K per month. I was like, oh shit. So like, and here's the thing, I can't speak for all men, right? And most or some men, I'm sure, could be like, okay, cool. Like this means that I'll be like this. I think this is like a thing. It's like a meme, right? Like the stay-at-home dad thing.
I don't know.
I think it's a thing. But that's definitely not me. So like, I couldn't just be like, oh yeah, that's cool. I'll just like accept. Well, for one, I could not have done the nurturing for like a little boy. I'm sorry. And this is maybe controversial, but I do feel like women naturally have so much more like just natural nurturing abilities for a young child.
We're needed more in those early years.
But like that doesn't come naturally to me, at least. Like, him now, like rough housing him and stuff, 100%. But like a baby, like I don't have that like maternal instinct. So I was kind of like, shit. Like,
well, we're still man and woman. Like, and that's the thing. We never had this discussion prior because it happened so quickly.
Yeah.
And we liked what this money was going to be able to give us and the life that we were going to live. So I never saw myself against Scott. I wasn't like, oh, I'm making all this money and you're not. I just stepped into a role because of what was happening. But unfortunately, that then took a turn for the worst it wasn't the worst. It was actually the best thing ever. But initially it was hard because Scott then wanted to get into sales and had to work for free for a period of time. And what I found happening...
I didn't have to work.
No, he didn't have to.
It's just the way it kind of planned.
Yeah, your intro to sales was different to mine.
My intro to sales was not the fast ascension that yours was.
Yeah,
no.
yeah.
And I think we've spoken about that.
Yeah. So what actually... I so remember this. We were in Sydney and this was like my third month of hitting 20K. And like... I just started to fall into this mindset of like, oh, I'm providing this life for us. Like, I am the one that's working my ass off. And I could see that Scott was working his ass off, but he wasn't being paid for that. And
the reward wasn't
there. So it started to just get to me a little bit because we were splitting our days because we were traveling at the time. So I was working the mornings and then Scott would work the afternoons. And I started to think, well, like that doesn't even make sense. Like I'm earning this money and I was only doing 20 hours to earn this. I'm doing all the mornings and then wouldn't it make sense that I just did the afternoons too, make double the amount of money and you just spend time with Oakland? And so like I started to build up this resentment because I was like, it just doesn't make sense to me why this is happening.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I couldn't accept that. That's the harsh reality of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess my way to counteract that was just to work as hard as possible and to match your income and succeed it, which became probably like, I guess, the chip on my shoulder to some regard as well. Like it's like one of the best things, but also one of the, it would have been one of the best things, right? Because for one, you making that amount of money made us both be like, holy shit, sales is something we should get into.
Yeah.
So if that never happened, we wouldn't even be here right now.
Yeah.
So that's one thankful thing. But the second thing is like, I always felt like I had to be earning more than you. So whatever you got to, I was like, there's the next bar that I just have to achieve.
Yeah.
So like if that bar was set lower, then maybe I would have been like, 15K is great. Or like, maybe, 10K is, whatever it is, right? But because like you'd set the bar at 20, now I was like, oh shit, like I've got to make more than that.
Yeah. And your focus has never really been on money though.
No, fuck no.
No, yours is more on living the life. And but for me, I was very money driven and money focused.
Yep.
And that also created, because like I would always be like, why didn't, like, not from a place of like negativity, and I wasn't nagging, but I always used to be like, why aren't you making more money?
And that's the interesting thing, right? Because like we are driven by completely different things. You are very money driven. I am the complete opposite. Look, like I appreciate money, but I am and this may not be right, but like I'm 100% sales driven.
Yeah.
Like I have to be the best. I have to be like the top. I have to be making more money, like whatever it is. And like, unfortunately, yes, money is a measuring stick of that in some regard.
No, I think it's just in my head it was. So you were topping of the charts. You were the top salesperson across so many different accounts.
But still not making
not making the same money that I was. So I was like, why? Because, you know, to me that was a direct reflection, but that's not true. That's just the story that I had in my head. And guys, none of the stuff that we're saying right now is like right or wrong. It's just how we felt.
Yeah.
And it's just our experience.
Yeah.
And it was hard to really find that balance. It was really hard.
Yeah, it was. So I guess like the purpose really behind this is like that with the women coming in, right, and the opportunity that they're given, you guys are most likely going to run into this exact same situation. And like, I got no idea in terms of people that are listening to this. I'm assuming it's like 100% women, right? But let's just suppose that there are some of the women's like husbands or boyfriends or soon to be husbands listening to this as well. And they're like, hey, I resonate with this. It's the exact same thing. I guess there's like two things you can do, right? Number one is you can be like, sweet, like assume the role of letting your partner be sugar mama, right? Which is definitely one part. And some guys would love that. And the second one is like, let it light a fire under your ass and just do better yourself.
And like, I don't want to just take away from like how we actually worked through this, because I feel like it took a lot of us utilizing our skills in communication to actually sort this out and to have really, because our conversations just started to turn all about money, work, sales. That's all we spoke about.
Yep.
And keeping in mind, we had a little boy who also needed our time and energy and love and attention. And we just weren't giving him all of us because we were so fixated on this new skill and like on all this money that we're making and the life that we could live, that it really took away our ability to connect with each other outside of that. It was so all immersive and obsessive that that's all we literally spoke about.
Yeah, it did become competitive.
It did.
It became competitive.
And we constantly would compete for everything. It wasn't even just around sales. It was like around Ocon's attention or around like being, you know, getting the better opportunity or like just became very competitive. We weren't working as a union. We're working separately. And we had to actually put, and we're still working on this a lot. You know, it was just like little things, like making sure that we're working towards a common purpose. That's something that was missing initially. We didn't have a common purpose. We didn't know what we were doing this for. And so we were growing this way instead of this way. And you would notice in the language that we used as well was just making things worse. Like I'd be like, I'm making all the money. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I'm providing this life for us. And that's would just make things worse.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, a double masculine relationship is an interesting one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, without going too far down that rabbit hole. I mean, look, you know, maybe it does work, but it didn't work for us. So yeah, we needed to work on that, and luckily we were able to communicate well.
We're all good guys.
Just airing out our dirty laundry, right?
No, it's like, it's real. This is the real shit that you got to deal with, guys. Like, it's not just rainbows and butterflies. I'm sick of like having this front where like, it's all like, yay, I made 20K a month. Like I did do that, but there was lots of other things I had to move through, and I had to let go of identities literally so much to be able to step into.
This is going to be a good one, right? Because this is like, you know, a relationship in general. What would be your advice, right, for a young aspiring female that's like, hell yeah, I want to get into this, get after it. And let's say they were able to achieve the same level of income that you did, and their ascension was hard and fast, and yet they still are like out there trying to get a partner. Like, what advice would you give them?
I guess like it's got to do with like what you, just getting very clear on what you really want. Because I believe you go through different seasons in life, and sometimes you are in a hustle season. So you are working head down, bum up, doing the work. And if that is the season that you're in, it's going to be hard for you to surrender to opportunities of love, even if it comes to you because your mind's not there. If you do want to find a partner and you are being super successful, you have to be willing to like focus your energy towards that instead of just towards like grinding. So there's a new identity that you kind of have to step into in order to be able to receive that. That's just my opinion. I don't know if it's right or wrong, but I feel like when you're so heavily focused on work, you become blinded to opportunities, including love.
And I think another bit of advice as well is that like if you have someone that doesn't necessarily want to see you succeed to that level because of selfish reasons, is that a relationship holding on to?
Yeah. If they're in one already.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought you said looking for.
Well, if they're looking as well, right? If they're in an early stage one, because, everyone kind of wants you to succeed until you do. And then they don't want you to succeed because you're doing better than them. So that's an interesting dynamic. Not even just from relationships, but just in general. Sweet. This is a bit of a different podcast, guys. This is a bit more around the relationship side of things, but I think it's going to be very valuable for everyone out there.
I think just like a takeaway that, if you are getting into sales or maybe you've received your first commissions check is like to start to see this as something that you're both doing rather than just you. Build a common purpose and know that you're both working towards that. And it does maybe look a little different, but I think open communication around how you're feeling, just being mindful of the language that you're using as well. Again, openly, radical candor, speaking into how you're feeling when it comes up so that the resentment doesn't build and build and build to the point where you're like, oh my goodness, we're both so in our masculine here. There's no empathy, there's no nurturing, there's no love, and connection is just so crucial. So crucial. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed a slightly more vulnerable share. I think it's important to know the full side of sales. And I mean, this could have happened in any job. I could have been a CEO. We still would have run into this same issue.
Yeah.
But it's just again, so that you guys feel like you can relate to this.
You know what is interesting though? There's so many partners on the male side, because we're female only, right? Really. As it's crazy how many of the ladies that we work with come to us and they're like, hey, my husband wants to get into it as well.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Look, there's a few reasons why they would, and maybe this is one of them, guys. So ladies, if you feel like maybe your man is slightly feeling how we or you are getting into a dynamic that was like what we were at, feel free to listen to this podcast together, and hopefully this will be helpful for you.
Yeah.
Sweet. Alrighty, guys.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.